Hey everyone, welcome back to Get Your Geek On. I'm Robert. That's Aaron. We are actually here doing a little bit of a segment before we come back with Talkin Geek. We're coming back on June 2nd, but we wanted to come back and provide you just some of our thoughts on some big news stories. We've been away for a while, and there's been a lot of announcements about Mandalorian Season 2 in terms of casting and a little bit of directing too. And so we just wanted to, talk a little bit about it and, get some of your guys' thoughts. We haven't talked about this much, so I want to, get some of your thoughts. There's been a bunch of different casting news, different characters that have been confirmed, different directors. So what was the big thing? I know you're not the biggest Star Wars guy, but you did like The Mandalorian a lot.
Yes, and I love The Mandalorian.
We're on season 2 now. It's slated to come out later this year. Hopefully no delays. And so what out of the big news that's come out in the last, month or two, what stood out to you?
So I know Rosario Dawson is going to be in it, and I love her acting. I think she's a great actress. That was probably my second biggest one. For me, my biggest one, and it's just because I've actually met the guy. I have a picture with him. Robert Rodriguez is actually going to be directing an episode of The Mandalorian.
San Antonio native.
Yes, sir. Yeah. I've seen him. I've been in conventions with him twice, and I actually got a picture with him once. So I've actually 2 or 3 times seen him. Really nice guy. Yeah. So I'm so excited to see where he goes. Especially, I love his movies. I've pretty much watched all of them. Once Upon a Time in Mexico and everything else with that. Yeah. I think he's a great director, great writer.
Planet Terror, probably your favorite.
Okay, that one's not great, but I still watched it. Spy Kids was funny. I actually watched that.
Sure.
Especially when Antonio Banderas was in. I was like, really? Yeah. But then it's like, oh yeah, Robert Rodriguez.
It's not bad.
So those are my probably favorite things that have come out of this so far. But
let's talk a little bit about Rosario Dawson, who Ashley Eckstein voiced the character of Ahsoka Tano in Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels, and I think even in some video games. And Rosario Dawson was cast as Ahsoka Tano. And so there was a little bit of there's a little bit of controversy because people, want Ashley Eckstein. She's had that role for more than a decade. People have been saying, well, why isn't it her? But I think, Rosario Dawson is, a live action actress. Yes. Whereas Ashley Eckstein, at least my familiarity with her, is voice acting, and that is different. Yeah. I think that Ashley Eckstein probably could do it, but I think that they went into it with an open mind. I'm sure that they talked with Ashley Eckstein about it. But ultimately, for the story that they're telling, they felt like Rosario Dawson was going to be the actress that would capture that character the way that they needed her to be captured. Yeah. And so I think she's a really good actress. I really liked her in, Daredevil. I think she showed up in Jessica Jones as well.
Yes, she was in all of them, actually. She's tied into every one of them.
I don't think she ever showed up on Punisher.
No, I think Punisher she did, I thought. I could be wrong. Double check me on that one, because I think she's in Iron Fist. I think she helped Danny once.
Yep, she was in Iron Fist. She was in Luke Cage for sure, and she was in the Defenders. I think she showed up in an episode of the Defenders.
Yeah, she's in the Defenders as well.
I don't think she showed up in Punisher.
Double check Punisher.
I could be wrong. Doesn't really matter. She's a good actress.
Exactly.
She's been in a bunch of movies and stuff too.
Clerks 2 as well. She was in Clerks 2 as the movie wise. So, like you said, let's also face it, and I'm not trying to be mean to anybody. She is a big actress. So, it's always nice to have a big name on your attached to your project, Not saying, of course, that the other girl's not a big name. She's a big name, I'm sure, in Star Wars. Everybody knows her. Now, the character she's playing, correct me if I'm wrong, that's the Padawan of Anakin, right?
Correct, yeah. Okay. Ahsoka Tano was in the Clone Wars, was the Padawan of Anakin, and then kind of went away from the Jedi Order for a time, became kind of a gray Jedi. Yeah, they never use that term. They don't like to say gray Jedi. Okay. But she wasn't officially part of the Jedi Order, nor was she a Sith. But she was still a Force user. Oh. And then she did show back up in Star Wars Rebels, had a confrontation actually with Anakin Skywalker, Darth Vader. And then at the end of Star Wars Rebels, actually went off with Ezra, who was the main character of Star Wars Rebels. The two of them went off and were kind of going to the outer regions, and that's the last place that we saw her. So we don't know how she came back or why she's back in The Mandalorian. And I'm guessing she'll probably just show up for like one episode. I don't think she's going to have like an overarching arc, but we have to wonder at this point whether Ezra will return as well. And the first season of The Mandalorian did not have any Force users other than the child, Baby Yoda. So now we will get another Force user. We don't know what that's going to look like, but I'm pretty excited. I think Ahsoka Tano was one of those characters. Actually, when she was first introduced, people really didn't like her. She was definitely a little bit annoying in the early seasons of Clone Wars, and I think there was just a dynamic there that hadn't really been explored yet. But as that series went on, that character became a fan favorite. And one of my favorites too. I really like her, so I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how they portray her in season 2.
I'm excited. I mean, it'd be amazing to see her. So, of course, Gina Carano is coming back to play her role.
Yep. Yeah, we got a lot of returning characters. Carl Weathers is returning as Grief Karga. I think he's actually going to direct an episode as well. Is what I saw.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, Gina Carano is coming back. Obviously, the Mandalorian himself is returning. Pedro Pascal. And then Giancarlo Esposito, who is the villain that didn't show up until the end of the Mandalorian season, but he's also from Breaking Bad.
Black Saber.
The Dark Saber, yes. And also tying into that, we are also getting Katie Sackhoff of Battlestar Galactica fame, who is coming in and playing her character, who I don't know the name of it. It's Kaz something, but she is a Mandalorian character, was in Star Wars Rebels for sure, and I think Clone Wars as well, voiced by Katie Sackhoff. She is going to be the live action representation of her as well. And the last time we saw the Darksaber, which was in Star Wars Rebels, it was actually being wielded by Sabine Wren, who was one of the main characters of the Rebels. And that character played a big role alongside Katie Sackhoff's character in that storyline. So I'm thinking the Darksaber, there will be some, obviously that's a Mandalorian relic.
Yeah.
It's from the first Mandalorian Jedi that created the Darksaber, and so obviously that's gonna play a role as well.
There's gonna be a lot going on.
A ton.
And then we still haven't commented on Tamura Morrison.
Tamura Morrison, yeah.
He's coming back, but they don't know exactly. He might play Boba Fett, maybe.
I mean, it's actually interesting because we have an actor returning who has previously played, a character on screen, but he actually played multiple characters on screen because he is the template for the clone troopers. So he was Jango Fett in Attack of the Clones, as well as all of the clone troopers in that movie and in the next movie. And he voiced some of the clone troopers as well. I don't know if he voiced them all, but he did voice some of the clone troopers in like the Clone Wars series and Rebels. So there are a few clone troopers that survived to the end of the rebellion and in the end of the war, Captain Rex being the big one.
Yeah.
So it's possible he's playing Captain Rex. It's also possible that he's playing Boba Fett. We don't know yet whether or not he's going to be, playing Boba Fett or whether he's going to be playing Captain Rex, or he could be playing both. But we do know that Boba Fett's armor is going to show up in the series because there was a separate story where Timothy Oliphant, he's been in a ton of stuff, and the report, we knew that he was going to be in the series, but now the report is that he's actually going to be wearing the Boba Fett armor. Does that mean he's Boba Fett? We don't know, but he's going to put the armor on at some point. So there's been a ton of news about Mandalorian Season 2. It's still slated to come out, I believe, in October.
Yes, Bob Chipper said it was going to come out October, so
yeah.
Saying.
So, this is obviously, it's an effects-heavy show, so they've been shooting it for a while. It's different than a lot of other streaming shows. But that's definitely, some exciting news about The Mandalorian. So I don't know. Is there any other big news that you saw about it?
No. I mean, once I saw Robert Rodriguez was in it, I was kind of sold on second season.
Yeah.
Like, just the fact that he's directing it. Like I said, I follow a lot of his work.
Yeah. I think I saw that Nick Nolte was going to be returning as well, which
nice.
leads me to flashbacks of some kind, because his character, spoiler alert, died at the end of season 1 because he was the Ugnaught. And so, yeah, he did not make it.
Right. That was the little one.
Yeah, the little pig guy that was like helping Mandalorian, fix his ship and all that stuff.
I have spoken.
Correct.
That's all I remember.
Yes.
And once he speaks, you just do what he says, and it's just like, okay.
Yes. I will say I've been watching the behind the scenes kind of documentary that they did. It's on Disney Plus about Mandalorian as well. So I've watched the first couple of episodes of that, and they've had like different discussions with some of the actors, some of the directors, different people that have been working on the project and stuff. And that's been really interesting, actually. Dave Filoni, who really made his mark in the Clone Wars, but he's a huge Star Wars presence. He's been involved in like the Star Wars story group stuff where they like he's involved in basically all the projects, whether it's comics, books, movies, TV shows, everything, because it all ties together. And so he's been part of that group that makes sure that they don't contradict each other or do any of those things. He's a huge Star Wars nerd. And he directed a couple of episodes of season 1. And it was really interesting, and I don't want to spoil it, but in the second episode of that behind the scenes series, he was kind of talking about the fight with Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon Jinn, and Darth Maul at the end of Phantom Menace, and how that fight ties into the throne room confrontation of Darth Vader, Luke, and the Emperor in Return of the Jedi. And just hearing the way he talked about it, like, it totally recontextualized a lot of it for me. And I was like, man, like this is really like you could sense his passion, but also just like what he was talking about. It was really cool. So I encourage you, if you haven't had a chance, if you're jonesing for Mandalorian like I have been, that is definitely I would encourage you to check out that series as we wait for Mandalorian season 2.
Exactly. And remember, guys, like, subscribe, and comment to all of our stuff. Check us out on YouTube at OfficialGYGO. Like us here on Facebook at OfficialGYGO. Check out Instagram as well. We have tons of new stuff coming out starting the week of May 31st. June 2nd is when our show returns, season 3 of Talkin Geek. Also, MCU retrospect review. We'll start that Monday on the 1st. And Friday there'll be an interview, and Thursday will be our Comic Zone podcast where we teamed up with Comic Calls to Action to bring you comic books. So